I can't believe I've only just found this chart, which explains exactly what we've all been waiting for. It shows that we are now at a major crossroads, a major turning point in this crypto market. And if you've had the discipline and patience to wait until now, you're going to be greatly rewarded. I'm going to explain exactly what this chart is showing us, and we're going to look into all of the different crypto charts right now to understand what we can expect to happen over the next few days towards that FOMC meeting. Do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's get into today's video. Now guys, before we dive into that chart, which I think is incredibly telling about what is about to happen next across Ethereum, altcoins, and Bitcoin, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to invest in crypto, you should understand that it's risky and you can lose money, so don't use money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing in anything. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get into it. Now guys, just to keep you hanging on a little bit longer to go and see that chart, let's quickly just go and look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of the other charts right now because they're showing us something very telling. And all at a time where the entire crypto market is almost flipped bearish, okay? Now, I saw this tweet from Symbio, okay? And it's basically showing similarities between a pattern that was seen back in December of the 2017 bull market, most importantly because that was when Donald Trump was last in office, where he also introduced tariffs and things like that, which delayed the bull market start, which we didn't see in 2021. We can see similarities here. Now, if you go into the comment section under here, you will be met with an absolute flood of bearish comments. Almost nobody in that comment section agrees with what is being said. Remember, one of the easiest indicators across crypto is always market sentiment. Right now, I feel myself almost becoming bearish, and that alone has got me more bullish than anything, yeah? Because the majority of people get this wrong. They have to get it wrong in order for the smart money to make money. This means that they're fearful right now when perhaps they shouldn't be. And here's why they shouldn't be. If we jump across to the Bitcoin chart and have a zoom out, you will see that actually everything seems fairly normal. And if you look at Ethereum, we've had a pretty good run over the last couple of months. Solana, an altcoin, starting to look good as well. Obviously, we are yet to achieve the highs that we saw in December, and many of the smaller caps have been struggling. But don't worry. I don't think that that's going to happen for much longer. And if you have been patient, you've been holding on, you've been DCAing in over these recent dips, and yes, I appreciate there's been a lot of them, you're probably going to be pretty happy that you held on very soon. Now, if we jump into Bitcoin, on a slightly smaller time frame than I typically look at, you will see that there is probably reasonable chance that Bitcoin has a little bit of a move higher over the weekend. You can see right now, Bitcoin is bouncing from this kind of buy zone area here. Now, in order to identify what I would describe as a buy zone, you can go to the bottom of where we see a lot of these big candlesticks pushing higher. This basically shows suddenly a lot of money was injected to Bitcoin around the kind of $108,000 level, and then you can see it pushed up higher into around the $122,000, $124,000 level that we saw just a couple of weeks ago. Now, what that basically is showing is during this kind of accumulation zone, big money buys in, eventually the price can't hold and it pumps higher. Now, what happens is eventually when the price then comes back to this zone, it often bounces very strongly. So next time you're seeing charts in free fall and you're panicking, go and look to the left-hand side and try and identify where some of the big buys have come from, because very typically you get a lot of bounces that happen in and around these zones. As you can see, there's one here, it revisits near enough there. If you go back in time here, you can see that there's like a buy zone area here. We had a big deal of growth coming out of Bitcoin in and around this, which is the end of 2024. It bounces almost perfectly in and around that zone. It's a little bit of a hack. Doesn't mean, of course, that it can't go lower, but typically you will get bounces in and around these zones, and if you are into trading, then you could potentially make some entries. Now then, for all the chart analysts out there as well, you can see something else is interesting happening. We have a bit of a shoulder coming in here ahead and another shoulder, which at the time of making this video is literally pushing higher right now. I would expect this to push up to at least this point. Now, there is a danger that this basically traps the bulls once more, but obviously nothing is guaranteed, and the fact that everyone is so incredibly bearish, everyone right now is waiting for Armageddon to hit, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to, okay? We can push straight up through. We already know this market is heavily manipulated, that manipulation can also work in our favor if we're just calm. Don't be reactive, just be calm and relaxed, and things will likely work out exactly how you want them to. Now again, if we look at Ethereum, you can see it's bouncing nicely from this trend line, and this is incredibly important based on what I'm about to show you on that other chart, which I will get around to eventually, trust me. But all in all, looks pretty positive. We look at Solana, again, has bounced strongly here. Okay, this trend line is basically showing that Solana is still bullish, and we are likely going to get some form of a decision sooner rather than later. Money still continues to flow into crypto every single day, pretty much from USDT market cap, which you can see is basically just going up in a straight line. Again, positive. Last time we saw it go down was pretty much December, okay? And ever since then, we have been in a massive uptrend. This typically doesn't happen when bull markets are over. But I get it. You're like, yeah, we're supposed to have been in a bull market. I've been in the game for a long time. I've been DCAing in, but I'm never seeing any particular returns. Why is that? Is this a scam? Why is crypto so difficult right now? Well, it is difficult for one major reason. Right now, there are a lot of people in crypto with huge expectations and excitement about what is potentially going to come in this bull market ahead. And that means that every single time over the past few years, we've had any hint of exciting upside, everyone, including you and me, have been aping into the markets. This pushes the price up, typically gets people trapped on the wrong side of trades, but ultimately it shows that the market is in need of being controlled. And the reason it needs to be controlled is we are waiting for full-blown liquidity to enter, which comes from things like interest rate cuts, the US printing money through quantitative easing, and other major economies around the world also printing money and adding to the system. They've been doing that over the past few years, but the Federal Reserve of the United States has been a little bit quiet, which is why we are still yet to see that explosive growth phase coming in. But with Jerome Powell from the Fed basically saying that he was going to cut rates in September in a conference he held the other day, with weak job openings data in the US also coming in, it is suggesting that the economy in the US is in need of a rate cut. If you go and talk to business owners in the US, which I'm fortunate enough to have in some of my various groups, which I'll talk about later on, and how you can get involved in those, they're also talking about how much of a struggle it is right now in the US with their businesses. They're really taking on water, and that is an indicator to the US Federal Reserve that things need a change. Now, jumping over to X, let's go and look at this chart, which I already posted up there. If you've already seen it, good. If you haven't seen it yet, it's because you're not following me over on X. Make sure you give Peter_THOC a follow, because believe me, when we start to get towards altcoin season and things start to pump like crazy, you're going to want to be getting ahead of the curve. Before I talk about things on YouTube, I'll often post them over on X because it's obviously much easier for me to do it without having to edit, etc. So give me a follow over there. You won't regret it. Now, I reposted this. This came from a member of my Hivemind Discord group, which I'll show you how to get into in just a moment. And this guy, good to go, live for your dream. Make sure you go and give him a follow because actually posting some really incredible content, updated me and showed me this chart. Now, this is a 3-day chart for Ethereum. And you can see that this is basically from back in early 2024. This was late 2024. We then had the break down towards the downside and then pushed up into this area. Now look below. This is the Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic. This is a pattern that is over 100 years old. Okay, it's typically used on Wall Street and has been used regularly across crypto markets. If you go back to the bottom of the Bitcoin bear market after the FTX crash, then you can perfectly align Wyckoff's accumulation schematic on that, because ultimately this chart shows you what comes next. And what really comes in the coming days and weeks ahead shows right now it could be a bit choppy. This here is the SOS, which stands for Sign of Strength. And I think you'll all agree, if we zoom out and look at Ethereum on the weekly chart, this is a very, very strong chart. Okay, this has been incredibly strong running up towards these levels. I appreciate if you are zoomed in to the 5-minute chart, maybe in the last kind of week or two, you've been like, oh, Ethereum doesn't look that strong. But zooming out, which is what you should be doing as an altcoin holder and Bitcoin holder or whatever you're holding, then you'll start to understand that in the long run, things are definitely moving in the right direction. Now that tells us that the SOS phase could be bouncing around like that. The SOS phase pulls back to the last point of supply, which is this LPS here, and eventually will break through the resistance zone. Now you can see the SOS will be basically bouncing around, soaking up all of the selling, etc. But eventually, guess what? It's going to run out of sellers and the bulls will continue to enter. We know already that the major banks, BlackRock, the US president, and others have been accumulating Ethereum in massive quantities, and there are not enough sellers in the market right now to be able to soak up the amount of buys. This means inevitably it breaks towards the upside. Now, as you look at this chart, you have to understand that this SOS phase could be done today. It could be done next week, or it could take a month or so. And here's where things get a little bit difficult for people who are unable to look further ahead than the next 15 minutes. You must understand that knowing exactly when something is going to happen in crypto and trying to understand when will get you in a whole lot of problems. However, if you understand that it will happen and all you're waiting for is for it to happen rather than having to know when it's going to happen, then times are going to be much more positive for you. And I don't see right now why we can't continue higher, because ultimately the crypto market has been pretty concerned. I do think that maybe a bounce here does come in line with the potential for a kind of fake out, which is what I've heard a number of other people talking about. For Bitcoin, that could bring the price up to around 114, maybe into $117,000. But all you should be knowing is really in the long term, and I don't even mean in the long term, in the next kind of month to 2 months, we're going to see Ethereum breaking into price discovery. And what that means is phase 2 for the path to altcoin season continues to mature. That means that the altcoins and things like that you've been DCAing into that have been struggling will start to rally up as well. Now, I appreciate down below people are like, oh, well, this isn't going to be an altcoin season like we've ever seen before. I agree. This one's going to be much bigger, but it's not going to be big for every single coin out there. There is a huge range of different altcoins, but where I like to look is towards altcoins that are really bringing real world value and demonstrating it on chain. By understanding that these projects are the ones that are going to see the biggest strength and growth, you can identify the best opportunities going forward. Now, I have been talking about those a lot on my channel over the past year or two, so if you've missed out on those, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And also, I know I keep saying it, but over the next 7 days or so, I will be making a video about different altcoins in my personal portfolio, as well as discussing why certain crypto projects are peaking above others, okay? Because it's really difficult. I know when you come into crypto, there's so overwhelming, so many different coins out there. Really understanding where they're bringing value is where you will win, okay? So I don't believe necessarily that every single altcoin out there will pump, but a good like 75% of them will have significant upside, and a good 25%, particularly the ones that are actually delivering real world value, will pump like crazy. Why? Because they've already got good money in the bank to be able to inject into things like marketing and into market making. They also have the ability to use their token for different things other than just buying and selling. They create utility, and when there's utility for a token that's getting used, guess what? It upsets the supply and demand model, and that's why those coins will massively outperform. We are waiting to get to that point, but if you understand that that time is still ahead of us, then things should be fine. Now, if you want to go and connect with other people around the world in crypto and hang out with experienced traders like Good to Go and many others, then make sure you join the Inner Circle Discord, which is linked down below in the description. Now, over in the Inner Circle, you can hang out with various others in crypto who've been pretty experienced in the space and start to learn from others. But you can also access various different trading signals from the trade zone, gather macro insights from one of our key macro experts who's working in this group full time, as well as having behind the scenes insight videos as well. Oh, and also every month you get to join a VIP Zoom call where I will be talking you through the markets and how they're all working, along with 3 other full-time crypto experts who have been in this game since 2016, 2017 and before. This should give you a bit of a cutting edge when it comes to the crypto markets, because really if you educate yourself in the space, it's going to make life a lot easier. Now guys, I'm not telling you for sure that I don't know that we are going to continue higher from here or what, okay? All I'm telling you right now is that things are definitely going to get much better, and probably much sooner than many people think, considering how bad the sentiment is. Right now, I personally am just sitting, holding, and waiting for the inevitable to come, and the inevitable is a killer bull market, the one that we've all been waiting for. I know it's taken a little bit longer than we all expected. Don't worry, I feel your pain, but things are starting to look up. Now guys, if you made it this far through the video, thank you so much for supporting me. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't. Go down below, leave a comment, let me know what you want me to cover on future videos. I know the market's not doing much right now. I'm trying to build your confidence to understand that there is method behind the madness that's happening in crypto, and I will be bringing you more about different altcoins that I'm personally holding and still bullish on, as well as how to research markets, exit plans, and other things like that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.